chances are when you're not playing to your identity, you're not going to come out on the winning end. And the Panthers start off this road trip on a very low note.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Wednesday, November 5th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News. You can follow me on X at Monoman12. That is Jacob Winans joining me on another edition of Winans Wednesday. You could follow him on X at JakeW_8. Shout out to the everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. You can do that all on FanDuel. So the Florida Panthers started off their road trip in Anaheim against the Anaheim Ducks, where they had a 5-game winning streak going on against the Ducks. But as we spoke about in our preview, the Ducks are trying to get out of the basement, and with what they've been able to do with building around their roster and then the growth of their young players, and then seeing these two teams play each other in the matter of a week, some of the things for the Florida Panthers remained as far as key power play opportunities that prevented the Panthers from changing the game. Last week, it was during the second period. Tonight, it was during the third period. But more importantly, the biggest takeaway I had, Jacob, was the fact that the Panthers were not playing their style of game. Breakaway goals are nice as far as the highlight reel. We saw some outstanding hands from Brad Marchand and Evan Rodrigues on both the goals, and even the setup from Evan Rodrigues to Eetu Luostarinen on the power play. But when you think of what the Panthers and the Ducks were doing, the Panthers really played to the Ducks game. And for the Ducks, yeah, they exploded for 3 goals in the final period, but I'm not saying that I necessarily saw the goals coming, but based on the fact that the Panthers were playing to Anaheim's game, it's not a surprise that those 3 goals exploded in the final 3, making this a lopsided game for a final of 7-3.
Yeah, and I'll definitely say it. I saw the goals coming. I think the Panthers played a horrendous game tonight. Breakaways, odd man rushes, 4 offensive zone penalties.
Yeah.
I mean, the lack of discipline was out of control in tonight's game. And I think they're at a crossroads at this point in the season, and it's early, but they're at a crossroads and finding out what their identity is going to be, because the box score shows a ton of even strength goals against the Panthers, but this game, again, like so many other games recently, boils down to discipline and special teams. 0 opportunity for the Panthers to ever take control of this game because of the undisciplined penalties, always finding themselves in the box, giving Anaheim countless opportunities on the power play, and then not killing them. And then when you have chances that you're given to get back in the game on the power play, taking penalties on your own power plays, failing to score, failing to even generate any kind of zone time or apply any sustained pressure. I mean, it's just another F- performance on special teams. It doesn't really give you much of a chance. You're not helping your goalie. Bob had a pretty bad night himself, but no help for the goalie. The defense is completely out of whack. And I think the crossroads they're at right now is you either get serious about special teams or you're going to have to get a lot more discipline. When you've got Barkov in the lineup and you're killing penalties, and Barkov and Nosek, 2 guys that are great penalty killers, Kulikov, another really good penalty killer. If you got guys who are going to get out there and kill penalties, be as undisciplined as you want. Take whatever penalties you want. I don't care. But the penalty kill is going to back you up. But right now, the penalty kill is playing horrible hockey. They're not killing anything. Every night they're getting outscored on special teams. So if you're not going to have the defense there, and we know right now with the guys out of the lineup, you can't outscore your problems. So you're either going to have to pick up a strong defensive identity, or you're going to have to get a lot more discipline. And right now we're seeing neither.
Yeah, and on multiple of those power play goals against for the Panthers, it's been a lot of being tangled around the blue paint right before they make it back to from the goal line to the high slot, and then where Cutter Gauthier has been set up so well, he's been able to beat Sergei Bobrovsky on the short side on two of the power play goals, and then getting one on the breakaway as well that he beat 5-hole as well. But it's also for the Panthers, just their inability to at least close out those passing lanes as well. When you saw the pressure that they were putting behind the goal line on the third Cutter Gauthier goal, they were unable to get back into their 1-2-1 formation. And then when that pass was made to Cutter Gauthier, not the best angle from Cole Schwint, when he was trying to cut it off. I'm not sure he looked like he was in the middle of trying to close a shooting lane and a passing lane. So it was like a little bit of half each. So he gets a little bit caught on that angle when it comes to the shot. And listen, credit to Cutter Gauthier, making quick decisions and not even giving himself an opportunity to handle the puck and just getting the puck out and for those one-time opportunities. So that's another thing that you got to give a lot of credit to Cutter Gauthier there. And here's the thing: the Panthers had an opportunity in the beginning of the third period. We saw the frustration from Anton Lundell from the hit that he took from Olen Zellweger back in the second period, and then it carried over to the third, where they both went to the box. And then when you look at that 5-minute major, it was not only their star player in Leo Carlsson getting a game misconduct, but Mason McTavish was in the box for a roughing call as well. So two of their best players were also not on the ice for that opportunity. And more importantly, the fact that the Panthers eliminated their opportunity to get the full 5 minutes. I don't remember seeing a 5-minute major where you don't have a man advantage for at least 2 of those minutes.
Yeah, and it just boils down to a complete lack of discipline. And it's not even just taking penalties when we talk about lack of discipline. It's also just things like positioning. Defense was nowhere to be found on a lot of these goals. And then, like you said, Cole Schwint cutting off, really getting caught in no man's land, trying to make a decision what play he's going to try to cut there, ends up in the back of your net. Jacob Trouba, a tapping goal from right in front of the net when the only guy back is Evan Rodrigues, who's been on the ice for 5 seconds after a concussion evaluation. I mean, I don't understand what really anything that guys were doing in this one. And the lapses are becoming a problem because when you're at full health and you're scoring, not necessarily at will, but when you're scoring enough to put some distance between yourself and your opponents, especially a I won't say lower level team because Anaheim is on the rise, but a team that you should be competitive against, and you have a track record of beating. When you're fully healthy and you're scoring and you're doing okay, these lapses cut deficits for the opposing team. Right now, it's burying the Panthers. They aren't able to outscore their problems. They're going to have to get solid on defense. Figure out the special teams. Even if you're not going to score a bunch on the power play because of the guys that are out, you have to kill penalties. And right now they're getting scored on at will on the penalty kill. And then it's becoming a concerning trend, the big seesaw swings of the way they play. If you look back at the homestand, the Pittsburgh game was one they kind of just pissed that game away, and then they get Vegas play a tremendous defensive game, lock down everything. Great game. You think, hey, this might be something we can build off of. We got our identity. And then they come out and lay an egg against Anaheim. The same thing you're thinking with the Stars. They almost blew that one, but a really solid game for the most part. Played really good hockey, and you think that's something you can build off of. Then tonight, it's just a complete breakdown of everything they've been doing well. Going to have to find some consistency, and the guys that are out of the lineup are not coming back anytime soon. This group is what they have. And the guys that are remaining healthy in this group that are supposed to lead are going to need to step up and lead, because We're not seeing enough from Bennett. We're not seeing enough from Verhaeghe. Reinhart is off and on, and the way it looks right now, it's if Brad Marchand gets an injury or hits a cold streak, we're in some serious trouble. And there's really no one else playing well right now.
Yeah, and I don't even want to even imagine that. And to think that the Panthers, just when it comes to the forechecking style that we're used to seeing them, that it wasn't really putting a lot of those that pressure and then getting those high danger chances to make Lucas Dostal uncomfortable. And whenever they would gain the zone, there was an Anaheim Duck ready to block a shot, and it was so quick and panic whenever the Panthers would gain the zone, and then the amount of stops and starts. That's really what it came down to. Also, when it came to the Panthers and just their inability to just create zone time, and think that
net front and net front. It's not often the Panthers get dominated net front the way they did tonight. Both ends could not do anything net front against Dostal, and then it was a free for all in Bob's crease.
And the thing is, it's not only about the fact that they didn't score on that 5-minute major and they negated the penalty after, but they got a power play after when Gustav Forsling took a high stick, and still the Panthers weren't able to generate really anything there. So the chances were there, and 2 shots on goal in the third period when all those when it was kind of given to you in a way to at least you had an opportunity, but still the Panthers just were not able to convert. But poor performances all around, and we are actually going to transition to segment number 2, where we're going to spotlight some of those with our 3 duds of the game and discuss the moment where we knew the game was lost. We'll discuss that more next year on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Rougiette. And let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress, I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. That's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED, designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes it easy to get started. Just connect with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. It prescribes your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back in the moment that matters. Visit rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL to get 15% off of your first order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNHL so they know that we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses and start making moves. Segment number 2 here on this Wednesday, November 5th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day on a Winans Wednesday. Armando Velez here with Jacob Winans as the Panthers lost to the Anaheim Ducks by a final score of 7-3 and have been swept of the season series by the Anaheim Ducks. And their winning streak in Anaheim is over at 5. First loss at the Pond since 2019. So it's a loss for the Florida Panthers, which means it is the time of the show where we discuss our 3 duds of the game and the moment where we knew the game was lost. In this case, the turning point for this contest. But this was one of those games where it's like, can you only put 3? And obviously I'm the host of the show, I'm the producer of the show, so I can decide whether I want to do so or not. But I'll start with honorable mention Sergei Bobrovsky. Even early in the game, it's just rebound opportunities galore. There was one where it was right at the chest, and then he couldn't locate the puck, but still made an outstanding save on Leo Carlsson very early on in the game, and had a few other saves. As again, this was a really high tempo, high pace game where the middle of the ice was open for both teams, especially, but not a lot of cycle chances for either. Number 3, Sam Bennett. I no shots on goal in this game. And like I said, the Panthers When you need your top players the most, you need that the grit, you need the puck separation, you need that you need that net front to deflect goals off to make a difference in games, and we didn't see that out of Sam Bennett. Carter Verhaeghe, 3 shots on goal for him, but I really didn't see anything really game breaking and really anything that caught my eye. And number 1 for me, the Ekblad Forsling pair, just getting caught, getting tangled over and over again. Gustav Forsling with the pressure that resulted in the Panthers not being able to get back in position on the penalty kill, and just that pair, which is supposed to be your best, was not at its best tonight. So that is my number 1 dud. So Bennett, Verhaeghe, and then the Ekblad Forsling pair with Sergei Bobrovsky as the honorable mention.
Yeah, my 3 duds. Number 3 is the goaltending. Number 2 is the forwards, and number 3 is the defense. The entire operation was bad tonight. And we can single out some players here. Sam Bennett, another just bad game. The turnovers, breaking into the zone and losing the puck immediately. Now losing board battles. There's a lack of physicality in his game at the moment. Not strong on the face-off circle really at all lately. He's struggling. Carter Verhaeghe, he's paid to put the puck in the net, and he's not putting the puck in the net. I don't believe he has a goal since his fluke bounce against Boston. He's having a really hard time right now burying chances. I thought he had a really poor game, a lot of turnovers in this one. And then some forwards are really undisciplined. I mean, Anton Lundell, I understand he took an elbow to the face. Got to keep your composure in that situation.
Resulted in a goal.
At that point in the game, yeah, you just can't take that penalty. And if you do, you got to step up later in the game on the penalty kill, or you got to step up and provide a goal on the power play. And Lundell had a quiet one offensively, up and down the lineup, forwards everywhere just weren't contributing, except the one exception maybe is Evan Rodrigues. I thought he had a pretty solid game until he got hurt. Brad Marchand had the breakaway chance, didn't really stand out much otherwise. Evan Rodrigues is probably my only forward I like tonight. Defense, the Forsling Ekblad pair was awful. Probably Gustav Forsling's worst game the entire season. You'd have to go back a pretty long time to find a game that Forsling played as bad as this one. Nico Mikkola, same deal. Really not a good game. I thought Sebrengo looked okay. Petrie didn't help him much. Seth Jones was invisible, so just bad game defensively. And then goaltending, you gave up 7. There's not much else to say there. Bob's got to be better.
Yeah, Sebrengo had a few good moments, including one of the stretch passes that resulted in the goal as well, and that was one that helped him with the plus category. Did have that turnover when it was garbage time. So the 7th goal that Harkins scored, it was just a bad flip, and then it resulted in the back of the net. But I can understand why if you're making that play. Maybe a little bit of a desperation move whenever you're down by 3 already there. So maybe if it's a closer game and that goes into the back of the net, maybe I'd have more things to say about Sebrengo. I mean, even the fourth line, Noah Gregor had a few good breakaway opportunities and had a few good puck battles as well from what I saw on the night tonight. So that's one of the very few bright spots. So Gregor, Sebrengo, and Evan Rodrigues are really the 3 guys that I could say I can't really pick on when it comes to their games for the Panthers. The moment where we knew the game was lost, the Brad Marchand penalty during the 5-minute major. I'm just thinking, man, this is a big stretch where you had 3 full minutes of at least being up because of the fact that the beginning of the power play was a 4-on-4, and also to think, Jacob, the Panthers also had a power play to end the second period with 2:02 left, and they couldn't. So you ended on a power play, and then you began not necessarily at the very beginning, but at least in the early parts of the period. So you had a chance to carry some momentum into an intermission and then come out with a little bit. So I thought that penalty that Brad Marchand took, which also the fact is funny, crazy enough, he also had a penalty earlier for playing with a broken stick, which I believe the last time I saw a Panther game where there was a broken stick was a game where Vinny Trocheck played. It was the Panthers against the Rangers, and Vinny Trocheck played with a broken stick. So I think that's the last time I saw that, at least in a Panthers game. But the moment where I knew the game was lost was when Brad Marchand took the offensive zone penalty on the 5-minute major.
Yeah, that's definitely a moment. For me, it was Cutter Gauthier's third goal, the hat trick goal. I thought the Panthers, when they went up 3-2, they really needed to find a way to get another goal, or at least string together a good chunk of time of solid defense, lockdown defense, because they even in their game against Dallas and in recent games, when they have a lead, it never really feels safe. They're struggling to put the clamps down when they have a lead. And then when they fall behind, they're struggling to come back. Tonight, they actually came back a couple of times, and it's unfortunate it went the way that it went, because they probably didn't even deserve to be in it at that point. But they end up with a lead, which you're kind of thinking at that point in the game, how are we winning right now? That's not an opportunity you can pass up. And when they take a bad penalty, Anton Lundell, and which, it's unfortunate. The ref probably missed that call. At least should have been evened up. It wasn't. That's when you got to kill. When Gauthier scores that, just kind of felt like 3 goals is a lot for the Panthers to have, the way the offense has looked at times this season. You're fortunate when you have 3 goals in a game, and when you know that's not going to be enough. At that point, I'm thinking Anaheim's got more firepower left in the tank than we do. They're going to find that 4th goal and probably not look back.
Whew. Young, fun, energetic, and on the rise, like you mentioned earlier. And I'm so glad that the season series is over. I'm gonna love watching Anaheim Ducks hockey when it's not against the Florida Panthers. When I do stay up late past the East Coast games for myself. But man, am I glad that the Panthers season series between them is over, because man, it's been a nightmarish season series between these two teams. But we're going to transition over to segment number 3, where we are going to discuss our worry meter now that the Panthers began this road trip on a not solid note. So we are going to discuss more of that next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And even when you miss a game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything on who will score the next 4th quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making a late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Third and final segment here on this Wednesday, November 5th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. Armando Velez here with Jacob Winans to discuss more of the Panthers' 7-3 loss, against the Anaheim Ducks to start off the road trip. And I want to start this segment on a positive note, Jacob. I want to say congratulations to St. Thomas University, who will now begin playing hockey come next season. So another growth in the game of hockey, and that is honestly thanks to the Panthers winning back-to-back Stanley Cup champions chips. So once again, congratulations to St. Thomas University on now getting an introduction to the sport. And this is inspiring for what the Panthers have been able to do over these last few years. But let's discuss our worry meter for the Panthers here, because like we mentioned, for the Panthers, leads haven't been safe for this team. The Panthers, whenever it came to this season series with the Ducks, uh, I was even thinking about last week when they couldn't put the puck in the back of the net and they couldn't get an early lead. uh, it didn't give him an opportunity to play the shutdown hockey in the third period. The fact that the Anaheim Ducks even took the lead in the second period of tonight's game, the Panthers are chasing. They're having to overthink things more and more, and that's when you see the gaps are starting to close a little more. The Panthers are losing the puck in the neutral zone. So whenever you see a contrast, whenever you see the Panthers up versus down, but it's really truly evident, especially in a season like this. So I want to ask you, Jacob, where is your worry meter at for this team?
Yeah, if I had to put it on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being not worried at all and 10 being full panic, uh, I'd probably put it somewhere around a 7. I just the issues with the way they're playing right now. I don't know that they have the personnel in the lineup right now to fix them. That's unfortunate. It's not a team that's poorly constructed. It's a team that's injured, and you can only overcome so many injuries, and the magnitude of these injuries is starting to show, and the deficiencies on the power play. It's showing on the penalty kill. It's showing in the face-off circle. It's a lot to overcome, and I don't know. I feel like they're struggling to consistently put together good hockey. The only reason my worry meter isn't higher than a 7 is because they've had stretches where they play really, really well. They've had stretches where they don't give up an even strength goal for a long period of time. And for the most part, outside of Kulikov, the defense is pretty much intact, and defensively, there's potential for them to figure it out. But I have very little confidence in special teams to get things going. I have very little confidence in this forward group as constructed right now to be able to find enough goals to overcome nights like tonight when you're not on your game. And I just don't think you can rely on Bob to bail you out of everything. It's I won't say it's easy, but it's more realistic to count on him to do that in situations in the playoffs when it's not so many games. It's 20 plus games that he has to be at the top of his game. It's not 50. And if you're asking Bob to steal you a game a couple of times a week over a 50 game stretch, that's a lot to ask of your goalie. Yep. I don't know. It's at a 7 right now. I just don't. There's no solutions walking through the door at the moment. The guys that are out are out. They're not coming back anytime soon. So I just don't know that they have the personnel.
And it's so crazy because I was kind of bragging throughout my Monday show just about the great things came in 17s for the Panthers when they're at home, knowing that the regulation shots from the entirety of the homestand, and then you see it completely flip when it's on the road. And the fact that the Panthers are not playing a lot of road games to start the first 3 months of the year, and then they're getting off to this bad of a start, it makes me worry about more things coming down the line once it does officially flip to January. Yeah, after the Winter Classic, you'll have one home game after that, but it's really a murderer's row of just being out away. Yeah, sure, can that help when it comes to being together and going to places on the road? Hey, maybe the Panthers do take a little bit of time out of practice to maybe head to Disney or Universal Hollywood to get some of that off ice chemistry. But again, it's about Jimmys and Joes instead of X's and O's for what the Panthers do have here. And I'm glad that at least the culture part for the Panthers is still quite there for the leadership on the team. But it's not going to help you put the pucks in the back of the net whenever you're asking other guys to play against top lines whenever you're used to one line playing against bottom sixes. In the case of the Lundell, Marchand, and Luosterainen line, like, no offense against Lundell and Luosterainen, but you're not expecting those guys to explode when it comes to the goal scoring. Sam Reinhart and Brad Marchand are really your go-to guys when it comes to the goal scoring for the Panthers. At least guys who could get at least in the at 30 or more for the Panthers. So again, it's a lot that's out of the lineup. But the fact that the Panthers are off to this rough of a start, 1-5-0 on the road, that's the concerning part. And it's not only the record, but it's just the high danger chances against when it comes to that. And also the reason why my worry meter is around a 7 or an 8 is because this is happening at the beginning of the road trip. Maybe I'd have a different feel if this was at the end and the Panthers were maybe racked off some wins, but this is the time that you have to bank some points as well. Especially when I looked at in the middle of the game, I looked at the standings and see where the Panthers would have been had they won. They would have been in the second wild card spot, and where they are at a loss, bottom of the Eastern Conference. Yeah, that can change in a snap of a finger come Thursday and even Saturday for this Panthers team. But it's an opportunity to bank points, and the Panthers haven't been doing that on the road.
Yeah, and it's also not like they're losing to the league's best either. When you're on the road, you got to capitalize against the teams that are not necessarily bottom feeders, but middle of the pack teams, lower half of the conference teams, teams that should be beatable. You have to capitalize on those points when you're on the road, because when you go into a Colorado or a Vegas, when you go into a Dallas or a hostile environment like that, especially when you're talking about playing against Western Conference teams, those games have big implications when you look at how tight the East is going to be. When you go up against the rest of the Atlantic Division, there's really not a whole lot of separation there, and I don't think there's really going to be. You have to bank points against the Western Conference teams. You have to bank points on the road against the teams that are not really good or at the top of their conference or at the top of their division. The Panthers are dropping games against teams that are not supposed to be the teams you're dropping those points against, and that's a real concern. And just the guys that are out and what's missing from the lineup, you're seeing these gaping holes in what the Panthers do. It's like Tkachuk, for example, the net front presence seems to be completely gone right now. He's the best at it. The creativity, the passing, the cycle game, the setting up the power play behind the net. Those are all things that the Sam Reinhart bumper play. I mean, these are all things that we've gotten so accustomed to, and things that we're so used to seeing, and sort of the bread and butter of what the Panthers do. And there's just no one to do it. And the same goes for Barkov. The control, the zone entry, the creativity, the ability to set up everyone else with his elite passing, the faceoff wins, anchoring the penalty kill. Those are all things that are non-existent right now because of who's out. They're not coming back. Barkov, we don't know if he'll play at all this season. Tkachuk, he's going to be down at least half the season. Thanksgiving's creeping up here in a couple of weeks, and we know how important it is to be in a good spot by Thanksgiving. You're playing with fire right now when you're sitting at the bottom of the standings. Yeah, you're only back by a couple of points. That can change with a 2 or 3 game win streak, but that can also be a 2 or 3 game win streak for another team that now puts you behind 6 or 8 points. So if you don't get it going, someone ahead of you is going to get it going before you can, and now you're in a big hole. So it's sort of a race right now in the East to see who gets hot first. And if the Panthers don't find themselves getting hot here soon, they could find themselves really looking up at some teams, and that's not a position you want to be in when you're down a lot of horsepower.
No doubt. And I'm just looking at the schedule for the Panthers real quick. Right before Thanksgiving, the Panthers will be playing, I counted 10 games before that. So we will get more answers from now until then. And there's a lot of gaps of two days off for the Panthers in the middle of the week. That's a little unusual. 3 straight weeks of Monday games. Obviously, the last week has a lot to do with the Thanksgiving holiday. for the Panthers, but some quick turnarounds from Saturday games and then just going right back at it from 2 days off. But the 2 day gaps, which are usually a Saturday, and then the 2 day gaps are the Sunday, Monday, it's a little bit different for this part of the schedule. So maybe it's best for the Panthers to at least start off at least the calendar week with a game and just getting right back into the action, and then getting a few days off in between one game versus the next between a Monday and a Thursday. But we'll see how the Panthers manage things from there. But the Panthers do have to rebound quickly and have to do it in a place where they don't win often in LA. So we'll have to see. We'll be back to preview all of that come Thursday early afternoon, as these West Coast games will have later releases on the actual game day. So we'll have a lot of time to digest it all and then come back to you guys on Thursday afternoon, right before the Panthers do take on the LA Kings from the crypto.com arena. But Jacob, I want to thank you so much for joining me on another edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, and also staying up with me, although it was a not the greatest game for the Panthers. It's 2:01 a.m. Here on the East Coast. So thank you so much for joining me, and tell everybody where they can follow you online.
Yep, you can follow me on X at JakeW_8, and I, like many of you, am going to bed.
Me too. And if you hopefully we gave you the best recap if you are waking up tomorrow morning and you happen to miss this game. We love staying up and watching some Florida Panthers hockey and bringing you everything from what we saw, because we understand that not everybody is in a situation where they can afford to stay up late. So hope that we brought you the best analysis that we could have for these games and throughout the rest of the week. But Jacob, thank you once again, and I'll see you next week.
Looking forward to it.
And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows in the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone and Steel Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez with Jacob Winans, and you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day.